squatting every day. I did a video about a year ago. Felt like it was the fad then to squat every day. Still popular, still get questions about it, and I still go back and read comments and questions on my video about squatting every day. I don't squat every day, but as I've told you guys, I'm pushing some programming, experimenting with some programming that hopefully I'll share with you guys eventually. But right now I'm kind of doing some hypertrophy, strength training that's a little bit more on the higher side of volume and frequency than I'm used to. And with that, I'm squatting fairly heavy, fairly high volume 3 times a week, opposed to my more typical powerlifting split where I only squat once or twice a week. Squatting every day, just a quick update or a refresher summary. You can check the video I did in the description below, but made popular by the Bulgarians weightlifting team. Abujayev was their coach, and it does a couple things really well. It takes very few exercise selection, a small exercise pool, a small skill set per se in the grand scheme of things, and allows you to train it very heavy very often. So for weightlifters, basically they squatted every day to some type of a max, literally a max of that day. That's the true Bulgarian method. Squat, and even if they did a clean and jerk or snatch every day to something heavy, the repercussions on your body, muscular, central nervous system, etc., the fatigue isn't as great as something that people try to do is translate it to powerlifting, where the loads and the eccentric of the movement in the squat, bench, and deadlift, particularly the bench and squat, are way greater than something you may put on your body for the snatch and clean and jerk. So someone who's like a intermediate, they've been lifting for a year or 2, maybe even 3, have a pretty good feel for the squat, have built up a good amount of strength but not a ton of muscle. I personally don't think that something like a Bulgarian is a great idea. Maybe for a beginner, a very beginner, to squat, bench, and deadlift maybe 3, 4, 5 times a week is a good idea, because the amount of weight you're using is so little on the scale of what you're actually capable of. It'll just give you more time to practice what you can do. My boy Connor does all these dope fucking edits for you guys. Has been lifting for a couple years, built some muscle but not a ton of muscle. Is pretty proficient in the lifts and is fairly strong. Him maxing out every day, depending on the phase, it's something we might go through. But a real Bulgarian method is also congruent periodization, without getting too into it. Congruent means that you're basically always peaked, kind of. You take a little bit of rest and you're ready to go, similar to Westside Kanji, where what I'm more into is kind of periodizing peaks and valleys, where we're doing a lot of volume, a lot of reps, and I'm not quite ready to hit a 1-rep max right now. And so for Connor, or an intermediate, someone between maybe 2 and 6 years of training even, depending, everyone's different, we'd rather get kind of periods of time, 4, 8, 12, 16 weeks of higher volume training with maybe less frequency, and to try to build up some muscle. And once again, less frequency is all relative. It means that he's still going to squat, or you guys could squat 3, maybe even 4 times a week, and get a lot of volume and build your quads, build your hamstrings, build your glutes up, but not Bulgarian, not max out every day, because then you're not capable of getting that much volume. As I mentioned in the other squat everyday video, is if you do something like a chin up every day, a push up every day, a pull up set of failure every day, for even beginners, intermediates, and in my opinion, even advanced powerlifters, that's probably something a little bit more, something you can do for a very long time. Building a bigger back, bigger arms, bigger chest in a non-fatiguing way, like a push-up, I think can help a lot of people progress in their hypertrophy and powerlifting strength gains for all sports, CrossFit, strongman, powerlifting, weightlifting, without really taking away from the main lifts or the main focus of your sport. If you do it for 2 to 3 weeks, your main workouts may go down a little bit, but then over time you'll adapt quick enough. It's not over-fatiguing, and you'll build up that back, build up that squat, build up that booty. So know that it's a weightlifting weightlifting program. Know that there are good ways and bad ways to translate it to powerlifting or other sports. Now I guess with my little experiment of just even squatting heavier 3 days a week, and I'm benching pretty heavy 3 days a week. As I mentioned in the video, the other one, the repercussions are my elbows, my shoulders, my low back, and even my knees a little bit for the first time in a long time, are a little achy. Not injured, not even hurt, just achier than they may be with more rest, right? More repetitions done, more overall volume and weight put onto my quads, my delts, my triceps, etc., causing probably a little more inflammation, a little more fatigue in those areas than normal. And not to say that it's not working. I feel good. Squat I think is going up while my weight's going down. Bench is feeling good, although my weight's going down. I think if I peaked again, I would hit PRs in both, or when I peak again. So all is well. But my nutrition's pretty dang locked in. My sleep's pretty dang locked in. My hydration's really good. So knowing those factors, and also know that I know programming. So I know what my body can do, and I know general programming. So even though I'm doing high volume is relative. If you've been doing 3 sets of 3 in the squat every week, and you all of a sudden do 6 sets of 3, that's fairly high volume compared to what you're used to, right? That's double. So it's all relative. You know, people say, oh, volume blocker, oh, I'm training high volume. It's all relative. So for me, I know kind of where that target is and where I got to lie in between it for me to make progress, and I know kind of when to push it, when to back down. But for me, it's higher volume, sets, reps, times weight a week in the squat, in the bench. I'm working up to a heavy single, moderately heavy, not quite Bulgarian as a real Bulgarian deal. You're literally maxing out. I'm probably touching just above 85%. It's kind of my main goal is touch above 85%, 3 times a week on the squat, back down sets with some volume. Nothing earth shattering. I didn't invent this. Many people do it, but I'm adding that in a type of hypertrophy, bodybuilding-esque workout in between. Traveling this week. Today's the last workout day, probably of the week. I leave tomorrow early. Gone till Sunday. It's gonna be fucking cold. I'm not much in the mood to lift right now. I've been sitting on the couch answering emails and phone calls from like 9 o'clock. I grabbed coffee. I ate late. I'm a little bit man of a schedule. I like to eat around 11 so I can squat at 3. It's now 3:15. I ate around 1 or 1:30. I'm grumpy. Cheers. Time to go squat. Let's go lift.